I think we're going to know that we shouldn't follow him, and so maybe we should all kill our TVs.
Thank you. Good word. Good
well,
word.
One more
Anything
thing.
else?
I just wanted to ask Mike, and this is back to Zeitgeist a little bit, okay? Because not everything is all garbage, okay? There is garbage everywhere, but there are pearls of wisdom even in garbage dumps.
But you know, when you really try and knock Jesus and put Jesus in the garbage...
I understand that, but getting back to the astrological piece, I want you to explain this parable that they quoted that was very interesting in context, because they talked about that Jesus was of the age of Pisces that started 1 AD to 2150 AD, and that we would usher in the age of Aquarius. And they cited Luke 25, verse 10, as, I mean, it's a profound statement from Jesus, and it's regarding his disciples asking him. It's about the Last Supper.
Well, you know, let me just say, Jan, God uses the stars to state things as well. So there could be something in that. I don't know. I'd have to look at that. But the fact that they knock Jesus and just totally reject him is the most important thing, don't you think?
I understand that.
Yeah.
But
well, listen,
if
thanks
you
for
would
calling,
watch it
Jan.
to the end, you
I don't
would see
have
the
an
New
answer
World
for
Order.
that one, but thank you for calling.
Okay.
Yeah, Luke ends in chapter 24, so maybe it's Luke 24:10 or 23:10. But anyway.
I think she said another book besides Luke, but it doesn't matter. Bill, how are you doing tonight?
Bill, you there? Bill, you still there?
Bill's gone.
Okay, we lost Bill.
Well, if you want to call back, Bill, that would be cool too. Well, with that, why don't we go to the second section of film? We'll hear some other people talking about a one-world government. And we'll be back in a few minutes and take your calls then. I forget how long the segment is, maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes, probably 7.
Go ahead, guys.
1967, Richard Nixon was quoted in Foreign Affairs saying, "The developing coherence of Asian regional thinking is to evolve regional approaches to development needs and to the evolution of a new world order." A few years later, the New York Times reported that Nixon spoke of the talks as a beginning, merely reiterating the belief he brought to China that both nations share an interest in peace and building a new world order. On July 26, 1968, the Associated Press reported that New York Governor Nelson A. Rockefeller says as president he would work toward international creation of a new world order. In 1976, a new document surfaced that was called the Declaration of Interdependence. It was signed by 32 U.S. senators and 92 representatives in Washington, D.C. It read, in part, "2 centuries ago, our forefathers brought forth a new nation. Now we must join with others to bring forth a new world order." And Henry Kissinger, in an address before the United Nations in 1975, said, "So we say to all peoples and governments, let us fashion together a new world order." In 1994, Kissinger stated that the New World Order cannot happen without U.S. participation, as we are the most significant single component. Yes, there will be a New World Order, and it will force the United States to change its perceptions. This New World Order goal is supposedly for the good of all mankind, as Nelson Mandela affirmed in the Philadelphia Inquirer in October of 1994, when he said, "The New World Order that is in the making must focus on the creation of a world of democracy, peace, and prosperity for all." Democratic leader Richard Gephardt in the Wall Street Journal said, "We can see beyond the present shadows of war in the Middle East to a new world order where the strong work together to deter and stop aggression." This was precisely Franklin Roosevelt's and Winston Churchill's vision for peace for the post-war period. Even President Mubarak of Egypt is quoted in the New York Times saying that the renewal of the Non-Proliferation Treaty was described as important, quote, "for the welfare of the whole world and the New World Order." Also, before the United Nations in 1979, Cuban dictator Fidel Castro said, "We must establish a new world order based on justice, on equity, and on peace." Mikhail Gorbachev, the former leader of the Soviet Union, made this rather disturbing association when he said, "We are moving toward a new world order, the world of communism. We shall never turn off that road." Perhaps most troubling of all is this quote from Adolf Hitler during the Second World War, who said, "National Socialism will use its own revolution for the establishing of a new world order." Such disturbing statements about the New World Order are not confined to Hitler. Historian Walter Mills, writing about World War I, described the efforts of Colonel Mandell House, the chief advisor to President Wilson, speaking of his hidden motive for involving America in the war. He wrote, "The colonel's sole justification for preparing such a batch of blood for his countrymen was his hope of establishing a new world order of peace and security." The Bible says, "The day of the Lord will come just like a thief in the night. For while they are saying peace and security, then destruction will come upon them suddenly, like labor pains upon a woman with child, and they will not escape." The labor pains or birth pangs a woman suffers during childbirth come suddenly, but not all at once. The contractions are usually spread apart at first and can continue for many hours. But as the labor reaches its climax, the contractions quicken until they come one right after another. This is the picture given in the Bible of how catastrophic events will progress as the day of the Lord approaches. The starting gun for these contractions seems to be the cry of peace and security, as we saw with Colonel House and the First World War. In fact, during World War I, Nicholas Murray Butler, who ironically would win the Nobel Prize for Peace, gave this mysterious address before the Union League of Philadelphia on November 27, 1915. He said, "The old world order died with the setting of that day's sun, and a new world order is being born while I speak, with birth pangs so terrible that it seems almost incredible that life could come out of such fearful suffering and such overwhelming sorrow." An estimated 16 million lives were lost during World War I. But the conflict to come would make the Great War pale by comparison. While the numbers vary, it is now estimated that some 50 million lives were lost as a result of World War II, a birth pang which began with a similar declaration of peace for the sake of security. British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain met with Adolf Hitler in 1938 to draft the Munich Accord for the purpose of supposedly providing security for Czechoslovakia and to assure the peace of Europe. Chamberlain arrived back in London with this historic announcement.
This morning I had another talk with the German Chancellor, Herr Hitler. And here is the paper which bears his name upon it as well as mine. We regard the agreement signed last night and the Anglo-German naval agreement as symbolic of the desire of our two peoples never to go to war with one another again.